All right. Well. We are back for another live open court discussion in the Counselor's Corner, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor, aka C2. And joining me is co host Herb Lewis, the Big Bad Wolf. This past Monday, we covered the topic dating complications, which we needed a part two on Thursday. But tonight, we will be discussing the social contract. Why doesn't it work anymore? These gender role conversations are definitely a hot topic on a daily basis. And I look forward to going further in detail tonight about social contracts and the unwritten agreement between the genders of the roles. Played by society, played basically so society could progress. I'm almost certain tonight it should be a lot of going back and forth, if we have a panel, because based on the gender roles and pretty much what men are used to doing, what women are used to doing. Then you throw in feminism when women are working just as much as men, maybe getting paid just as much. And then you think about the household duties, children, the responsibility as far as that. So it's like we're all over the place, which I think is causing a lot of all right, tension in the household, and we know what that brings: a lot of separations and a lot of turmoil, a lot of dysfunction. So here we have it. We're going to talk about those social contracts and the unwritten rules. But before that, what's going on in my world? Today, like I said, I'm looking for some smoke at the job with the kids, and I don't think it's going to be any. So that's just what it's going to be. Just trying to get through this year, and it's winding down. April was almost over, and pretty much that's it on this end. So I'm gonna pass it over Herb, man. What's going on in your world, man?
The saga continues, but first, I got a chance to get out of town with the basketball team, man, and it was it was rough sailing, man. It's is I'm finding out that when you get to a certain age with young men who think they know more than what they do, is difficult working with them, man. It really is. We were, I always tell them, when I watch them practice, I say, hey, if you guys go out of town and you play in tournaments, you play like this, you can get your behinds handed to you. And our first two games, they were ugly. Ugly, just no excuse, ugly. I'm talking beat downs. Yes, man. So uh back to the drawing board, I suppose, man. But we got some work to do. We, at least in terms of execution, our team's not where it should be. So that's going to be up to the coaching staff to make sure that the next time them boys go out of town to play, we're better prepared. Hey, stop that. So there's that. But meanwhile, when I was out of town, the elusive woman finally responds to my text, calls, and she sends me a text. Now, when you get a text, generally you're expecting something good, something bad, and sometimes you're not expecting anything at all. So, when I got the text, I was thinking, who does this? What type of, pardon the use of my colorful metaphors, what type of asshole bullshit is this? So I didn't respond when I was out of town because I wanted to be focused, and quite frankly, it had me kind of upset. So I get back home, and I'm gonna share with you guys what she sent me. It was just a real clear, real concise, real short text. And that's what she sent me. That's exactly what she sent me. I'm thinking, what asshole doing some shit like that? So people, just wanted y'all to know, it was all a dream. There's no kid on the way. Don't mean to burst any bubbles, but I had to show I'm an asshole sometimes. Because sometimes that's the only thing people respect.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow.
So,
Mm.
but it falls in line with all the things that we've been discussing in terms of single parents, the social contract, and everything else that goes along with that. Now, this is not a blame game, and this is not an I topic. This is a we topic. This is a cultural topic. This is a how do we deal with the culture, the way society is, so we can continue to progress. Because let's face it, right now, we're in a holding pattern. We are in a standstill. You know, families, quote unquote, are being created. Homes and communities are being destroyed. Doesn't matter who's not participating in making kids. Somewhere, somehow, we all have a role. This is one of the reasons why I mentor. And people are out there talking about, I don't have any kids, so I can't possibly mentor. We had over last week, Thursday, I believe, early Thursday night, Friday, a 19-year-old very young man was killed on a basketball court over a long-standing feud. Now, the information that I got, and this is not blame, understand what I'm laying out here, was his sister precipitated an event that led to him being killed, and he was protecting his sister. So for all of you out there who claim that Black women aren't protected, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm getting ready to tell you. Had she not precipitated the event, he would still be alive. So I don't want to hear that nonsense ever trumpeted again about how Black men don't protect Black women. Because there's a lot of Black women who are putting Black men in bad situations that end up to them, that lead up to them being killed. When we were in the vehicle riding down, the first thing that I discussed with them was their decision making. And they were combative, tooth and nail, at least one of the young men was, about how they don't have choices. We all have a choice, whether it's a decision between something bad or worse or a benign choice. What I told him, I said, he could have told his sister, because this incident happened while she was on their front porch, to come in the house and they could have closed the door and did it right there. Now, if they break in, it's a different situation. But I told him he should have had her come in and call the police. And one of the kids replied that the police won't do anything. That's okay. You're in the safety of your house. You live another day. This is what I talk about when I say that women need to pass their children, especially the boys, off to the men. And I always get pushback. I always get flack. And I'm going to stand firm on that. Because a father is not going to allow his son to get involved in certain things that he knows the potential to that is disastrous. And because he doesn't have that, he was with his father, he was raised by his father at the time. So I do want to make that clear. But his paternal siblings were in that walk of life and he got caught up in it. So this is why I caution people, understand who your kids hang out with, their influences, and what is leading to them making bad decisions. It's not easy being a Black male in this country. It just isn't. There are so many things that one has to navigate just to be on the road to success, never mind being successful. And any one of the number of traps can derail you, and some can ultimately lead to you being killed. So, that's what I've been, ruminating over on the last few days.
So with that scenario, I thought I read something that said it was like a dice game or something.
Yeah, no, wasn't about a dice game. It was
Oh.
excuse me. a long-standing feud apparently between the people, whoever was the one that committed the crime, and him. And his sister spat on one of the dudes or one of the people involved, and then she called him down. That's always going to end badly. That's spitting on somebody is like just about the absolute most disrespectful thing that an individual can do, and that there's no upside from that. It's all downside. Because I asked one of the boys, I said, "Do you think that's fair to him that he's no longer around?" And they said, "Well, what does fair have to do with it?" I said, "All right, valid point." I said, "Do you think it was good or even right that he stepped in for her when she did something that she didn't have to do, and he ended up paying the ultimate price? Because he's gone, but she's still here." I said, how does that work? She goes out and does something when she didn't have to. And he tries to fill in, and he literally he pays the price. A price that he should not have had to pay. That's a hell of a price to pay. This is why I always say I'm not protecting anybody that's not under my command, or command being loosely because I don't have a quote unquote command, but anybody that's not under my auspice, meaning that anybody that I can't say something to and they obey. Once my mother passed, I became a free agent. So anybody that I don't go anywhere with, anybody that's not living under my roof, or anybody that I'm not paying for in terms of the food, clothing, and shelter, I have no authority over you. I have no right to protect you. I have no right to offer you protection. And as harsh and as caustic as that sounds, that's the way that I have to live in order to protect myself from people who mean me no good.
No.
And go ahead.
And I was just going to bring it back to the original topic. You can go ahead and finish your point, but
well, no, and that buys into it, because 40 years ago, it would have been no problem for any man, regardless of his relation to a female, to step in when he saw that she needed protection from a man who was either being aggressive or physically abusive to her, aside from that man having dominion over that woman. So if a man was out and he was accosting some random woman, and a guy would approach that woman, "Ma'am, are you okay?" "No, this guy is bothering me." Is he your husband?" "No." "Your brother?" "No, I don't know him." That's when the man would intercede, because he understood that that woman more than likely wanted to be left alone. And that's part of the social contract. That was unwritten. That was brought over from England during the Victorian age, where women were treated because they were valued for what they could do. Men understood that. This is why the notion of women and children first was standard, because men were viewed as disposable. We might fertilize an egg, but we can't carry that egg. We can't bring forth life. This is why I've always said that in any heterosexual relationship, that there are roles to be played. One, and these are immutable. One is for a man to get a woman pregnant. The other is for a woman to bring forth that child. What those two do in that relationship is their business. This is why I never put my business out for public consumption, because people always want to critique according to what they would do. I don't place my standards upon anyone. I always will say, if something works for you and your partner, your mate, make it work. Don't worry about the outside world, because it's going to come a time where you too, and any children that results from that union, are going to have to make decisions solely for the benefit of that group of people. Stop allowing other people to dictate what you do, because more often than not, they're not looking out for you. They are looking out for themselves. So men, generations ago, men were expected to go to work, expected to come home, give that money to the wife. The wife was expected to do everything inside that home with the money that he provided. So pay the bills, make sure the kids were well fed, make sure the kids were well schooled, well behaved, well taught, and that man provided control, structure within that environment. And for a large part of the world, that was how things function. It's not until we get to the mid 19th century where you start to have second wave feminism step in and women wanted their equality. I don't begrudge any woman that wants equal treatment under the law. It's understandable. Why shouldn't it? They participate the same way we do. They work, they pay taxes, they contribute to society. One hand washes the other. We all get along in some way, shape, or form. But now that very foundation is being broken apart because you have people out here that are telling women, you don't need to have kids. You don't need to get married. You can go out and you can earn as much money as you want, and you could do the same things that men are doing. But the caveat is this: they can't do that in the same numbers. And often the outcome is confused with the opportunity. And when I talk about that, what I'm talking about is this. We have seen just recently, I believe it was I can't remember the company, gave $100 million to Black women in the STEM field, but there's nothing for Black men. When Ice Cube spoke about the plan for Black America, the woman on Fox Soul stood up and said, what about Black women? I have never, ever heard of any legislation that was geared for Blacks to exclude Black women. Civil rights were for everyone, not just Black men, Black women and children. Anything that Black men benefited from, his family and anybody that looks like him did. So we see the attack. You want to come up here, boy? Huh? We see the attack on male principles, on heterosexual male existence. And I have to wonder if this is what people want. They want the destruction of men that they deem toxic. Then who do you think is going to run your society? Who do you think is going to do all those jobs that are required to keep this world running? Because this is something we've said on the show before, that if men all of a sudden decide to go on strike and not work for a month straight, this world will be unrecognizable.
So let me interject. So to bring people, so if people don't follow that, and I know, what's your definition of the social contract? And I know people like John Locke and I don't know, Thomas Hobbes and people like that came up with the social contract. But what does that mean in everyday terminology in 2021 when you talk about social contract and people are listening? What would make them say, what would make them follow this, or what's the relevance to it?
Well, the relevance become, what do you want this world and the society and your culture to look like going forward? What do you want it to look like for your kids? Do you want your kids to be in a world where everything is equal? And when I say everything, I'm talking everything: military service, child support, the ability to determine what other citizens in this, at least in this country, can do. Do we want true equality under the laws? And when I say true equality, I'm talking about where when one person is convicted of murder, the sentence is the same. They don't give leniency to mothers. They don't give leniency to people who fall on one side of the spectrum or the other. Because if you look at the disparity in jail sentences, men are always sentenced longer than women. And they'll say, well, she has kids, she's a mother. And a man that has kids isn't a father. We see that now with Haley Berry complaining about the unfairness of having to pay child support. She say it's punitive. Men have been saying that for years, but have been largely disregarded. Men have unceremoniously went out, worked, paid the bills. And I understand that's how society was set up. And men have said, okay, this is what we were tasked with holding up. Women were the keepers of the home, the teachers, the providers in terms of a stable home environment. And yes, there are some men who have left those children to fend for themselves. This is why Gerald Ford instituted child support. And I have no problem with a woman being taken care of by a man that got her pregnant, married her, and left kids. But too often, that's the narrative for everyone. And that just simply isn't true. Every man that has gotten a woman pregnant has not left her. But far too often, that's the narrative that we keep hearing. And everybody's grabbing somebody else's story and making it applicable to them. When in actuality, if you ask them, that's not the case. Men didn't leave him. The man just didn't want to be with the woman, but he still wanted to be with the kids. But because the way the system is set up, he has very little choice. And all we hear is, well, you need to fight for him. You need to fight for the right to be a father. And I listen to that and I'm thinking, did he have to fight to have sex with you? Did he have to convince you that having sex with him was going to be pleasurable? Whether it was or it wasn't is a different topic. But so often we hear one side of an argument painted one way, and then when it comes to the other side, we say, well, that's how people say that's how it is. Well, why? Why do men have to fight for something that others don't?
Well, we got a panel member, so we want to bring her in. Hey, Rebecca,
Hey,
how you
Good evening.
doing?
I'm good and yourself.
Great, I'm great. So, anything you want to add to that was said so far, or you want to
I
chime in
mean,
on?
I think most of it is a load of crap. I think whatever holds true for a man should hold true for a woman. People are people. Um, there are things that women have had to fight for that men have never had to fight for, and vice versa. So, you know, it doesn't make it right, but it is what it is. If men had to fight for the right to be a father to their children simply because they don't want to be with a woman, I think that's wrong. I don't agree with that. Um, but I also don't agree with the fact that women have had to fight for equality. Most of these laws were made by men to benefit men. Most of the social standards were made by men to benefit men. People are people. And people disagree with that a lot, but at the end of the day, people are people. Um, any one can raise a child provided you're equipped to do it. That I know some people don't make good parents, but speaking on good people, um, set people, sound people, they can raise their children. Again, I think the notion that women should have to hand over their children to the father is that it's just so fucking repulsive and disrespectful that it just is. But again, I consider the source. Um, I think that I would love to live in a society where everyone was treated equally, based on not based on the color of your skin or your gender, your socioeconomic status. That we're all equal, and I do believe that as far as crimes and whatnot, it should be sweeping. If you take a life and the sentence is 20 to life, it shouldn't matter if you're male or female, if you have children or not. Women give birth in prison all the time, and they take those kids right away from them and hand them over to someone else. Um, it shouldn't make a difference. I don't think this society would fall apart if men decided to revolt for 30 days. I think it would keep going. It might be difficult. I believe that women can do whatever they want, just like men can do whatever they want. um people every day get up and figure out a way to maintain and to thrive and to push forward. And I think that could continue on. I think the problem with people trying to live the way that, our grandparents lived is that it's just not like that anymore. It was easy for men to tell women what to do, and they were willing to follow because we weren't working a lot back then. We weren't in the workforce as heavy and as strong as we were back then. So we relied more on whoever the breadwinner was in the family. And it's not like that anymore. And to think that a woman is out here pulling her own weight and being condemned for that because somebody can't have control over her or dominion over her or anything like that is absolutely ludicrous. There are plenty of women, single women with children, plenty of single men with children that are out here pushing forward and thriving and being successful, and their kids are just fine. I will always say it would just be awesome if everybody was raised in a two-parent household, whether it was two women, two men, a man or a woman. The more a child can have in their life, the better for everyone. Hell, I'm 55. The more people I have in my life, or at least good people, the better I am. But if that's not the case, I would be hard pressed to just lay down, roll over, and die because my man, is not with me, because he don't want to be bothered with me, but he wants to be a father to his children. And I am perfectly fine with that. The kids' fathers were a part of their life. We spoke when we had to. I mean, we have good parenting working relationships, but it wasn't like we were on the phone saying, what's up with you, that type of stuff. But we had a well-established relationship that we wanted to co-parent, and that's exactly what we did. But if they didn't want to be a part of it, it would not be an issue. I still have to get up every morning and take care of my children, go to work, pay bills, and that's exactly what I did. So me personally, every time I get on here, I feel like I'm speaking for all single moms, but I'll just speak for me. I feel insulted to hear people say things like that, because nobody in my house is pregnant. Nobody's on drugs. Nobody's been in jail. None of my children have a negative mark on their record. And they're all thriving within their limits. And that's mostly because of me and my hard work. I will never take anything away from their father, all whom have never been on child support. I never even showed up in court, and I never initiated child support with anybody. And I never would, because why should another grown-ass man have to tell another grown-ass man that your child needs? I will do it on my own, and I will struggle on my own, and I will come out on top, on my own. If they're there to help, fine. If they're not, fine. So I take issue when they try to divide the sexes and try to make one weaker than the other. We all have weaknesses, we all have strengths, and as a community, if the community would embrace everyone, we could all thrive in that community, whether you were single, married, divorced, widowed. I think someone made a comment on Facebook about communities only including married people, which is ridiculous, because I know the premise of that was specifically about unwed mothers, but the same would apply to any woman who was whose husband died, or any man whose wife died. Do they get kicked out of the community too, because now all of a sudden you're a single parent? It shouldn't matter how we became a single parent. Just the fact that we're single parents and raising a household should not be a reason why we're negated, looked down upon, frowned upon, shunned, talked bad about, any of that stuff. We should be focusing on the people who just simply aren't doing their job and being unfair, whether you're male or female. If you're not supporting your child or working or whatever the case may be, that should be who we discuss and who we should be trying to help, not encompassing everybody under the same umbrella simply because we fit the title.
Well, let's say this, and I'm gonna say this, that to me, you can look at all of this, but at the end of the day, when I think of households and stuff like that, it's time for us to try to work together and try to
Damn
grow and try
Skippy.
to build and try to build. And no matter what was done before or whatever the case is, it's time to build and time to grow. We have a lot of different resources, a lot of knowledge. Now that should be the point of emphasis. Like in this household, this is what we're trying to do. And when you have more households trying to collaborate and come together, and people have a chance to accomplish their goals, men or women, and people are blossoming, I think it could set up for a beautiful thing. But
Absolutely.
if we keep looking back on this and that and having a blame game, this is what we're gonna get. Communities are made of households, and that's the community. No matter what it is, no matter if it's one person in the house with no kids, they're still a part of that community. Married couples or whatever with no children, they're still part of the community. Uh, so communities are built on whatever that those households are. And once you step out, you're part of the community. Good, bad, or indifferent is what you bring to the community, and usually that is brought from things that happen in the household. Like I always say, if there's dysfunctions in the household, more than likely when you step out, there's going to be dysfunctions in wherever place you go to, whether it's work, whether it's school, whether it's your kids playing around at the park around the corner. It's going to be some dysfunctions. We need to tighten things up in the household and go from there. And that's the start. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna bring Brolic T in because she's been waiting for a while. What's going on?
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
How's
evening.
everybody doing so far?
Good
Good.
yourself.
I'm good.
So, I could go a couple different ways in this conversation because I have been, I was that child who father woke up one day at 21, married with 3 kids, and decided that he didn't want that life for himself anymore. So he walked out. That's something that nobody ever talks about. And I'm a little tired of that, because men choose to leave their families every day. It's not always a woman putting them out. It's not always a woman filing for divorce. Shit, you leave me, what do I look like being married to you for the rest of your days and my days? And then when you die, I'm the one that foots the bill. But Sandra down the street been living it up with you all this damn time. Uh-uh. Sandra down the street and her kids is getting the treatment, and you don't have 2 words to say to my kids, because that was my life. My dad went off and raised other people's kids and then raised his own kids. But nobody ever talks about the decisions that these men make when they leave. Nobody talks about that. It's always the woman is the responsible one, and she's the reason that these men leave. And that's really not the case. And I know that from personal experience. My dad told me when I was 17, I asked him, I said, why didn't things work out? He told me I woke up one morning, I was 21 years old with 3 kids, and that is not how I pictured my life. So he chose to leave. And what could you say to that? I couldn't say anything to that. I respect that he was honest. I respect that he was honest, because honestly, I grew up thinking that he just didn't love me and that's why he left. But really, he just left because he was selfish as shit. So that took a great burden off of me. So when I hear people say things like a man needs to fight for his responsibility and for his right to be a father, some of them just wake up and decide, I don't want to be a goddamn dad anymore, and they walk the fuck off. No fight needed. hear the kids, and that's it. But we don't hear those stories often. We don't hear about the ones who choose to actively walk away from their kids and not be bothered. All we hear about are the men who get shafted by the woman because he no longer wants to be with her, so she's trying to make his life miserable. Well, what about the women who fall in love with these men, marry these men, for them to wake up one morning and say, you know what? My bad. I don't want this life. I'm sorry. I changed my mind. You don't get to renege after all that shit. So then when they end up on child support, it's like, oh, she's vindictive. No, we made these kids together. You can either be here and be active, or you can leave your money here and they can still be well taken care of. It's all voluntary. I respect those who don't go through the process of doing child support. If you got a father who's willing to work with you and do his part, by all means, that's somebody who doesn't need to be on child support. But if you have somebody who is actively like, oh, well, catch me if you can, do what you got to do. Because that was my dad. My dad was the person who would change his social security number and do shit like that to get out of being responsible for his children. So
I think for every
exactly.
negative story you hear about a man, you can hear the exact same story, you
And
know,
exactly.
about
You
a
can hear
woman.
the exact same story
I
about a
feel
woman,
like we're,
but
yeah, I feel
nobody
like,
talks about a man. It's always a story about a woman and what
yeah,
she didn't do right. Like, perfect example, when I sat there and I listened to that room full of men, every story was about how a woman ain't do shit right. How a woman wasn't this to her kids or wasn't that to her kids and didn't have this right and didn't have that right. All that shit. But none of them had anything to say about their fathers. Your father let your mother take you away. Kind of shit is that? Because I don't know any good father who's just gonna let a woman walk away with his damn kids. Her ass is gonna end up in a body bag, truthfully. But she ain't just gonna walk away and take his kids and disappear. Hell no. That's not happening. Not a father who's active and really gives a shit about his kids. Now somebody who's iffy, he might not care. But somebody who's invested in his kid's future and is that active parent, ain't no way in hell a woman just gonna up and disappear with his kids and it be okay. That's just not gonna happen. And that's the reality of it. What people don't talk about are the decisions that men make in situations. You know that when you sleep with a woman, there's a chance that she's gonna get pregnant. You need to decide in that moment, is this person somebody that I really want to spend my life with? Is this somebody? Is this a decision that I can live with? Because you may say, oh, I can do this, and then you get in the thick of it, and all of a sudden, damn, I didn't sign up for all of this. Because my dad was the provider. My mom stayed at home and took care of us, had no job, had no means. All she was the stay-at-home mom, and my dad made all the money, and then he up and left. So where did that leave her? That left her out in the wind with nothing. How the fuck is that fair? Because we always talking about what's fair for a man, but what about the women that get left with the kids? What about their fairness? Shit, what about my fairness? Because I'm a kid who couldn't take care of myself. All I had was a mom and a dad, and now suddenly my dad wakes up and decides that, hell, I don't want to be a father no more. Here, mom can have you, and mom don't have nothing to take care of us with because she spent her whole time being, guess what? A stay-at-home mom, not making any money. So how the hell was that situation fair? I'm really sick of people sitting up here talking about the fairness of men. Fuck y'all fairness. Because at the end of the day, women get the short end of the stick way more than y'all do. Shit is just now starting to get equal for us, and it ain't even 100% equal. Nowhere near close to that shit. Because we still have to go to fucking court to file a paperwork, and you motherfuckers y'all motherfuckers are cunning when you don't want to pay child support. Y'all know how to change your address and how to act like you didn't get shit in the mail. I could give you stories upon stories upon stories of shit that men have done. Y'all will sit up, exactly, that's another one. You get it, you'll sit up there and holler, I need a DNA test. You done signed on the damn birth certificate. You should have asked for that test when we was in the hospital.
I think
DNA
the
just
problem with stuff like this,
responsible. And that shit is crazy. But nobody talks about the shit that the lengths that a man will go to get out of his responsibilities. All y'all can talk about is a woman forcing them to be fucking responsible. And how she wrong for expecting him to play his damn part. You played your part when we made that baby. Why you can't play your part now that the kid is here?
I think the problem with a lot of that is because
Because men can get a
people keep
vasectomy
making
just as
sweeping
easily as a woman
statements,
can get her tubes tied.
and they
I
swoop
don't hear
up
nobody talking
everybody in
about a
their
man getting a
sweeping
Both of y'all
vasectomy up
talking at the
statements.
here.
same time, ladies.
I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
just think that they make, because I think you get responses just like hers because people keep making sweeping statements. And I agree with everything she said. But I also know that there are women out there that behave just like that. And I think the reason why this panel gets so damn divided is because you always want to make a statement and scoop us all up in there, like saying that, kids need to just be given to their dads. Why? If the dad didn't want to be a part of it, why should I give
Exactly
my
my
kid
point. If
to
he
his
decide he
father if
don't
he
want to be a
doesn't want
father,
to be there? Because if he's co-parenting with me, like we're supposed to be doing together, he's going to get time with that child just like I'm going to get time with that child. One of us has to be the custodial just for schooling purposes.
Okay,
But
hold on.
I
I don't.
think it's unfair for you to just keep saying that over and over and over again. Like every woman out there that is a single parent is not doing her job. And because I never throw that statement on every single man, I just talk about the ones that ain't shit. And so y'all, you keep coming back with these statements about just women, in general. And I think that's very unfair to say stuff like that. And that's why you get responses just like hers, because it's not always us that's fucking
let
it
me
up. Sometimes it
let,
is them, and
Do y'all
sometimes it's both of us together. And sometimes it's just nobody's damn fault. Things happen.
let me
do
be
you
clear.
mind
The
if
push.
I add something? Do you mind if I add something to
Go
what
ahead.
Brolic T said? She was saying like if there's an involved father and stuff, they shouldn't be put on child support, and I disagree with that for this reason. When the mother has the child, she has to spend her money, her time, and her energy as well. And she's involved. So I don't think that there should be a problem with paying child support, unless, of course, you have a father that really does financially and all the rest of it um, pour into
that's
their
what I
child.
mean. If
Child
there's
support is
somebody
not.
who actually,
Yeah, child support is not a replacement for a father. He should be willing to do things and not just confine it to what a court orders. So if a court orders you to pay a couple of $100s a month and the mother calls and says, hey, can you get this or can you do that? That should not be a problem. A lot of the times the father that end up on child support are the ones who have nothing else that they're given. So that's all you're gonna get. That was all I
Yeah.
wanted to say.
And I'm gonna let her speak. And in those cases, those fathers may say, "Hey, you getting? I'm just throwing a monetary amount out there. You getting $800 for the both of them from me. I'm not chipping in on dance class, football, or whatever the case is. And for me, like I said a couple shows ago, ain't no old ass white man gonna tell me how to handle my money. I'm gonna pay what I gotta pay. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna figure this thing out. Ain't gonna be no set amount that come that they have to send something to payroll at my job, and this automatically come out because things happen in real life that sometimes you may say, "Damn, I'm jacked up right now. I can't do nothing right now this time, but I'm going to double up or whatever the case is." And if you have that trust between you, then it can happen. But when you put yourself in the hands of other people and they say automatically that comes out, And I don't know how they might get a percentage or whatever the case is or whatever it is. It just leads to a lot of anger and resentment, especially if you're not in that same situation. So that's why you see a lot of people going back and forth over cases, or I don't make this much that now. Some people end up quitting jobs and all that stuff. And I'll put it out there, transparent. And I know this is a story from when my mother told me that at one point when they split it, that my father decided he wasn't going to work no more. She tried to work with him, and he decided that, oh, I just won't work. And some guys play those games too, that I'm just going to quit the job and all that. I'm not quitting no damn job in my livelihood that I don't got no money coming in. That's weak as hell. That's weak as hell to quit a job to prevent from paying for your children. I ain't about to do it. Because other than that, you must have had somebody taking care of you. And that's weak. That's weak. And there are some people that say, don't worry, I got you. And some guys will travel that path of least resistance and go that route. I can't do that. I got to have my own money. But that's just my take. Herb, it's on you now.
What people need to understand is this. I don't have a problem with the backlash. Why? Because I'm not a part of the constituency that is producing these children out of wedlock. And this is what we talk about with the social contract. At the heart of that was marriage. And if a man was found to have taken the virginity of a female, guess what that man faced? He faced the wrath of the rest of the village or the town at the barrel of a shotgun saying that you're going to marry this woman. He didn't have a choice. It was either that or he got killed. That was the standard that had been broken when women got the freedom to decide who they want to have sex with, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That was part of the unwritten social contract. So once you start to unravel things that comprise the social contract, the fallout becomes great. As the old adage says, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Freedom. Anybody wants the freedom, whether it's male or female. If anybody wants to wear the crown of freedom, then you have to accept the ramifications that come along with that. I don't absolve the man that abandons his family, nor does society. This is why men are jailed for not paying child support. This is why they're forced to pay child support. It's often been said, if custody of a child born out of marriage was going to be given to the person that didn't require child support, we will see a lot less women having children because the state steps in.
Is not
What the
I
fuck
doubt
is that?
that.
What does that even
I
mean?
did not.
What
I
does that
did not
even
interrupt
mean?
anyone.
What does that
I
even
did not
mean?
interrupt anyone.
So what if you
Anyone and
interrupt
you
us?
did
So
what
I
what does
you
that
did
tried
mean?
to
not interrupt
Yes,
What
you
anyone.
does
did.
you're
that
right.
Yes, you
mean?
You're
did.
right.
If
You're right.
you
You
have
didn't.
to
I
make
did
a
not interrupt
person pay
anyone.
child
Yes, you
Hey,
did.
support,
hey, ladies,
then
let
I
why
him
would
let
didn't
him
they be
interrupt
finish.
the
anyone.
ideal
Yes, he
candidate for
did.
being a
He
father?
absolutely
That's
did started talking
ridiculous.
over somebody else. So yes, he did.
I
Absolutely.
asked if I could. It wasn't granted. I didn't say anything else.
Okay, well, don't say that you didn't overtalk
So
somebody.
I didn't interrupt anyone.
You did.
And see, this is the problem that we have. People always want to intercede. And then when I give the numbers are always questioned
You're
without
questioning
doubt.
because what difference does it make? You can't say for 100% surety that if custody was given to the person
When
that
I
didn't need
give
the
the
support
number,
isn't always based on a woman's needs. You see rich people getting child support every single damn day,
when
hundreds
when
of
when,
thousands of dollars every month, and they don't
when
need it. Child support is not based on the woman's need. It's based on his financial responsibility or her financial responsibility to care for a child. And you said that you don't make babies out of wedlock, when for the last 3 weeks that's all you've been talking about is that you have a baby coming. And unless you've gotten married between last week and this week, you fixing to be a single dad. So you part of the group too now. So you can't
Rebecca,
say that.
Rebecca, let me give you just a little tidbit of information that's gonna clear all this up. Go back and
I
watch the
don't need to know
rebroadcast.
about your personal situation. I really don't. I'm just saying for the last couple of weeks you've
Because
been saying that you got a
because you're
baby coming
speaking
and you're not married
because
unless you are.
you're speaking on information that's false.
I'm speaking
And
on
this is what
information that I've heard you say.
Well, can you reiterate the information, Herbert, please? So we all.
Well, before you reiterate the information, here's what I would like to say. Everybody is always hollering about statistics. 72% of women or children are born to unwed mothers. Well, who the hell is making them unwed mothers?
Hold on, Scorpio T. Just read the whole thing.
I read the whole thing.
Huh?
I've read the whole thing, but this is a statistic that's always thrown out there. 72% of Black children are born to unwed mothers. 28% of the children born to that's 28% of Black children born to married parents. Okay, so with a 50% divorce rate, 80% of them are being initiated by women. Listen, here's my problem with this. Okay, if you don't lay a seed, there's no child to be born, right? So if someone becomes pregnant, who's making them single mothers? Are these what if the man know he got a kid coming? Why is he not proposing marriage? You laid down with her. She was good enough to pop up your child, but she's not good enough to give your name. This is not just a woman's issue. This is a lack of a man standing up to be a man. You know you got a child coming. Now, you didn't do anything preventive to have children. You put that responsibility into someone else's hands and then cry when they don't make the decision you want them to make. Don't put that responsibility into their hands. And that'll cure the 72% of Black children being born to unwed mothers. If this man ain't taking me down there to give me his name, then it is what it is. So where does the responsibility really lie?
You know what?
Let me ask you.
Know what this reminds me of, and that's a good point. The way you had phrased it, Scorpio T. And y'all know I love boxing. It reminds me of when there's certain boxers and they say, you know what? I got to go ahead and knock this cat out because I'm not gonna let it let the decision be made by a judge or whatever the case is. Like I need to handle this in my own way, my own terms. And I'm not going to leave it up for interpretation or whatever the case is. And that's what it reminds me of, like certain situations. I think you have to take care of yourself. But if you leave it to the decision of others, whether, like you said, you lay down, you have a child, now you done lost control of that decision when the control was in your power. Whether you protected yourself or whatever the case is. After when you get the results, you're gonna get complaints. You're gonna get complaints, or you're gonna feel like you were dead wrong or whatever the case is.
I want to read this comment so that I can respond to it, okay? Somebody named Douglas said, that's a great question. Women have 100% power of whether a child is born. Give men the power to court order abortions, then you can put responsibility on births unto men. How about this? Give women the court order to get men a vasectomy, and we can make sure it never happened. Mm-hmm. You have no idea of what a woman's body goes through. It takes 7 years to totally heal from having a baby. 7 whole years. You have no idea. So give us the power to court order y'all to get a vasectomy. And we'll see if the story is the same thing.
Not only that, but people don't realize the repercussions of the women or guy having the abortion or terminating the pregnancy. Does anybody ever think about that for the woman? Did Douglas Wilson think about that? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it.
I just think the responsibility lies on both. You're both
See, it's like,
responsible
yeah,
for that
it's like,
creation of life.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me the responsibility can't fall on both once
yes,
conception
it
has
can.
allow me to finish. The responsibility cannot fall on both once conception occurs. And this is what Douglas is talking about. We're talking
Okay.
about we're all talking about prevention. And I don't think anybody on this panel or anybody that listens to this broadcast is ever going to question prevention. But what happens once that threshold of prevention is crossed and we're talking about the conception? Because there's already a state that's moving to compel women to have an abortion if the biological father has been determined that he doesn't want to pay child support or he doesn't want to be a father. Conversely, there's also legislation being sponsored by one state that's compelling the biological father to pay for half of the prenatal care of the woman who is pregnant. So it's not as if this is being painted on one side and the other and not being addressed. This is why I always tell people, read, avail yourselves to what's going on in the rest of the country, because none of this legislation appears and happens by itself, whether it starts in Europe and ends up here, or whether it starts in one state and it moves across the country from east to west, north to south, or however the direction it goes. This is why I always stay glued to YouTube channels, because they are, for me, they're the ultimate source. I don't even deal with mainstream media anymore, because most of them are putting their own slant on whatever it is they want to. So Fox has his right leaning, MSNBC, CNN, they're left leaning. The only media news network that I know that really calls it down the middle is the BBC, and they're out of Britain. They don't have a vested interest in American social policies. That's for us, because England's dealing with their own stuff, just like France is dealing with their own stuff, just like Greece is dealing with their own stuff. Greece is borderline bankrupt. They're employing austerity measures across the board. France has been having what they call yellow vest riots for the last couple of years, where kids are fighting to go to work just to earn money to live.
See, the thing is, I don't think people care about France, Greece, or whatever the case is. Even though they have their own thing going on, they want to deal with our issues.
And I understand
and here's a response to your statement, Herb. Just because a court is upholding a man to have sex with no responsibility to anything does not make it right. You know, if you are going to say this,
where's the lack of responsibility?
Wait a minute. Because if you impregnate somebody and the court steps in to force her to have an abortion, you're free from your responsibility without having the responsibility of the repercussions of whatever medical issue occurs from an abortion that she may not have wanted. So somehow you feel like it's okay for somebody to force any woman or any person to tell them what to do with their body, as long as it's not a man ended up having to pay child support. That means you just want to have sex without the responsibility, because when you lay down, you always know that there is an opportunity for conception. Now, she could have taken a pill and taken steps necessary. Not every woman's body responds to the pill. Not every person's body. Some women I know can't even use condoms because they're allergic to latex. So they have to use lambskin, which of course is not nearly as safe at preventing pregnancy as other ones are. So the fact of the matter is that just sounds like some bitter man that wants to force a woman to do some things and to live in such a way that she's not with. You know, an abortion comes with other things other than just finances. There's a mental aspect, there's an emotional aspect, so on and so forth, that you're basically telling somebody they're forced to deal with. It does not make sense.
At the end of the day, it all starts with prevention. That nips all this shit in the bud. If you wrap it up, if I take my pill, or
Absolutely.
better
Go to
yet, if
sleep.
you just
Abstinence.
abstain until you get married and find a person that you really want to be with for the rest of your life, that will solve this problem. He made the statement down here about pregnancies are the fault of men and women, and that he agrees with that, but the process of allowing a child to be born is that of a woman, which is true. And he said he wants equality. Well, when you can bear a child, you'll have equality on that decision, and you'll be able to go out and have all the unprotected sex you want. And when you decide that you don't want to bring that life into the world, then you can do that. So that all of that whole comment is moot, because a male's body isn't built that way, and nothing's going to change that. But at the end of the day, men and women equally are responsible for creating that life. And once that life is created, just because a man can say, well, I wanted to sleep with you, but I didn't want to have a baby. Well, too bad, so sad, you're dad. You did it. That life is coming. And whether you wanted it or not, you helped create it. You should be responsible for helping develop that life, raise that life, and nurture that life. Men and women are unequal because society makes it that way. There are plenty of things that men are mad about. This point exactly, about bringing lives into the world that they don't want. And you can listen to women bitch all damn day about not getting equal pay. It's never going to be fair. That's clear. It would be nice
I
if
want to
it
hear
was.
from
It would
I
be
want to hear
wonderful
from a
if life
man.
was fair, but life is not fair. And from the time this started, the only statement I've really agreed with is what Dave had to say. At some point, we just got to let go of the bullshit and move forward and decide that we're just gonna all do the right damn thing. Instead of saying it's your fault, it's the woman's fault. Well, if men wasn't shit, this wouldn't happen. If women wasn't shit, this wouldn't happen. Oh, well, we all ain't shit then. So now we just got to figure out a way to work it the fuck out and raise these damn kids and move on with life.
What I
But
want to
see,
know too, also, what I would like to really know is, let's say the court does force one of these women to have an abortion. Okay, who's going to track her mental health after that? What if she gets herself into a position where she can't forgive herself and now there's a suicide? Whose fault is that? Because I don't think, because men are not subject to an invasive procedure, because I'm assuming it's very invasive and
It
it's
is.
mentally and emotionally impacting. God forbid if you're a person in the church and you do that, God forbid, because you really are doubly, you have a double load on your back. So what happens to that woman? Who's tracking that? Who's helping her with that? Because this guy decided he didn't want to have a child. So she goes along with that, and now she's a basket case, or now she has become some type of addict or something. Those things go together. That's a trauma. That's a real trauma, because maybe she wanted that baby. Maybe she thought about the fact that maybe I can't afford it on my own, and I'm already knowing I'm not gonna get. I mean, this is some real stuff, and it goes way deeper than just having the money or being forced to pay for half of the prenatal care. Keep your money. This is why children are born to single women. It's not the women who are choosing to be single. It's the man they slept down with that's making them single. If you get her pregnant and you marry her, then you don't have half the problems you're talking about.
but
Well,
So
this is
who's
why I,
responsible for tracking that?
but this is why I mentioned shotgun weddings, and that ended with women deciding that they want to have the choice and the freedom to sleep with who they want. You can't have it both ways. You can't demand marriage and then the freedom to sleep with who you want. They're in conflict with each
Why
other.
not? Men do it all the time. Why not?
Please, can we
Be,
not act
because
like
because
you
the
didn't
women have
benefit from the
established.
end of the shotgun marriage? Please
Let me
don't
tell you
act like the
something.
men
Shotgun
are the
marriage.
people who was pushing for the marriage. Daddies were pushing for the marriage, but the men who was sleeping with these daughters, the reason it was a shotgun marriage was because they had every intention of running the fuck out after they got the panties.
Correct.
And a father
Absolutely.
went and got their ass
Right.
and made them get married. So let's not act like there was not benefit on both sides for the end of the shotgun wedding. You're the only benefit you're yelling about is the fact that women wanted to sleep with who they want to sleep with. Well, that also benefited
Hold
men
on.
because now
What?
men don't have to get married because most girls' daddies aren't in the home anymore to come and make your shiftless ass marry his daughter
Correct.
anymore, which is the whole
Correct.
fucking point. What's happening is that you're complaining about consequences. You want to push up under the rug because let me tell you, we have spent weeks of you all talking about whose fault it is for contraception. So let's not pretend like today, all of a sudden, we've never had the discussion of you all blaming women for the fact that they get pregnant. We've had to browbeat that shit in. So now we're all on the same page about the fact that it is a shared responsibility. What you are now complaining about is someone's lack of responsibility and the consequences therein. So boo fucking who? If you don't want to have a kid, either one, it is completely, and oh, by the fucking way did I mention completely preventable. So the boo-hooing about consequences on either side at some point just sounds like a bunch of bullshit to everybody. You're complaining about consequences of your decision. If you made the decision during the fucking part, during the splution on the fucking ovaries part, if you made the decision that you weren't gonna wrap it up, just like some old dirty bitch may have made the decision that she wasn't gonna pop a pill, if you two decided to take that gamble, then the consequence is very well an unwanted child. And now what you want is to be exonerated from the consequences of your decisions. And I call bullshit,
Say that again.
bullshit,
Girl.
bullshit.
What I'm
Say
speaking
that
on.
again.
I don't care
What
what you're
I'm
speaking on. I
speaking
heard
on.
what you were speaking on. You're going to say it 18 different ways. It's
No,
the same
no.
point.
I'm speaking on the impact it has on society.
The impact that what has on society, everybody having to deal with the consequences of their decisions.
Yes.
Herb.
No,
Yes.
no.
It
Yes,
impacts
Yes,
Yes.
that's exactly it.
Yes.
Individuals that do not have children are not dealing with their decisions. They're dealing with the decisions of other people who decide to have children and not practice either
When did we
abstinence.
start talking about that?
Because this is what the social contract is about.
Shots at people on welfare.
Aren't we dealing with everybody's poor decisions on everything?
I know people on
general
welfare
public-
that
Yes.
don't have children.
Okay,
We
I know
do.
I know men on welfare collecting a check
I was
that
getting
don't
ready
have
to say,
any children.
it's people
that
without
get
fucking
general
kids on
assistance.
welfare. So you can
That
toss
get
that,
general
you can toss that
assistance,
notion
that
right
get
all
Social
out the
Security,
motherfucking window
that
right
doesn't
there, buddy.
what are we talking about? Everybody, anybody that wants to take advantage of the system, man or woman, is going to find a way to do so. There is no gender that corners the market on the bullshit.
Never said that there
It
was.
just
Never
isn't.
tried to
Didn't
suggest
say
that
that you
there
did.
was.
I'm conveying right now. I ain't accusing you with shit, so you shouldn't be defending shit.
No, I'm
I'm
just saying.
making a statement.
I'm not putting that out there
My
in that
statement.
manner. It's being
It's all
taken
the holler.
in that manner.
So Herbert,
That's-
I'm sorry. Can you reiterate the replay so everybody's up to speed?
The social contract was an unwritten agreement.
No, I'm not
between-
talking about that. I'm talking about
Oh my God.
your situation before we started talking about, you know what we're talking about.
Go back and watch the rebroadcast. That's all I can say.
Why can't you just say it right
That's
now?
Because he got him in
all
his feelings, so we can miss all
to
that.
No.
say.
Yeah, it's not
No.
what we're talking about anyway.
No.
That's why I said I don't say it to be harsh because it disrupts the flow of the conversation. I don't want to do that. That's why I said go back and watch the rebroadcast. So when I'm talking
Dude,
about
your
the
whole
social
MO
contract,
is
I'm talking.
disrupting the flow of conversation.
Girl, yes.
What are you talking about?
So when we talk about the social contract, we talk about everything that comes with it: marriage, childbirth.
Whose social contract is this though?
Right.
It's an unwritten agreement.
Between
Unwritten
Between-
agreements don't count. That's like
How are
going
we
to
not
court with a
agreeing on
verbal
an unwritten
agreement. Nobody
agreement?
recognizes
Thank
that shit
you.
anymore. So
So let's take it past the birth and all that stuff. Let's take it back.
Please.
Just take it to the couples together, and now women are working just as much as men, maybe making just as much as men. How do you maintain these households based on this social contract when gender role says women should do this, they should cook, they should be more domestic, or whatever the case is? I don't necessarily agree with all that. Like I said, I believe in interdependence. Your strengths is going to be your strengths. I may have some weaknesses, and we try to fill the holes and go from there.
Well, you just answered
And
the
when
question.
baby-
What I
baby
want
mamas
to
don't
know
wanna
is
You
move
just
in.
answered the question that you do it together. There is that bullshit about gender roles is crazy. I know people still believe in that, and do you? I don't hate on that. Me personally, I don't. You get your ass up in the morning, you go to work, you come home, you take care of your family. Whoever get the fuck to it, get to it. If he mowing the grass and I'm cooking dinner and he wash the dishes and I give out a bath and he pay a bill, what difference does it make who does it? The only
Here's
time
what I
people
wanna
get
know.
upset
All
about
this
that
shit
is when
get done.
somebody feels emasculated or some woman feels, left out, whatever the case may be. All this shit still has to be done, whether there's 2 people in the house, 1 person in the house, 30 people in the house. This shit still has to be done. So fuck a social contract, because I missed that any damn way. I don't recall seeing no social contract, when I had a baby, that somebody was going to do this and somebody was going to do that. Me and him decided we weren't going to be together, but that child would be well taken care of, regardless of whether we hated each other, could tolerate each other, loved each other, whatever the case was going to be, that kid was going to be cared for because he was our kid. And so social I don't understand that. I really don't, because everybody wants to live in a time where women are wearing aprons and all the rest of that shit, and it's just not like that no more, even if there were no kids involved.
And here's the inequality in that. If you're saying to us that a woman's social contract has progressed or been progressive, and this is what we're going to measure it by, should it not be the same thing for a man? If you're saying that the social contract, the women go to work now, this, that, blah, 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 and some more blah. What's the social contract for the man? That is still stuck in the 1900s? I mean, where's the progression in that? It's still an unequal
Thank you.
thing.
Because
It's
if
still
I'm making money and
unequally
you're making
measured.
money and I still have to come home and take care of the entire house and the children, what does the other person in the house get to do?
This is why I always keep bringing out the numbers. The birth rate in America. All right, go ahead.
Listen, you always
Y'all don't want
say
to
that,
listen,
but
so go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna tell you this for the 19th time. You can manipulate numbers. It's very simple. You control the variable, therefore you get the statistics that you're looking for.
Because I didn't
So if I
participate in
want to create a statistic that says all men are trash, then all I do is control the variable by saying we're not going to include any man that makes more than $10,000 a year. See how that works?
You have no idea what I was going to say.
really
None whatsoever.
That doesn't matter.
And-
It doesn't
and
matter
that's- and
because I'm
that's
tired
the
of hearing about the
point.
numbers.
That's the point. When I give you something concrete, you want to dispute it because you don't like it. Numbers,
No,
the
I
numbers
don't
are
dispute
what
it
they
because I
are,
don't
whether you
like
like
it.
them or not. That's
I
what
don't
governs
dispute
this
them because
world.
I don't like them. I'm showing you that it's an infallible system. The system is flawed. It's flawed.
Wait a minute, hold on, wait a
That's what
minute.
I'm trying to show you. You're asking me to accept something that is clearly flawed because all you have to do to get the results you need is to control the variables. It's not that hard to do. Anybody
Let me
who has
ask-
taken an intro into a business class knows that.
Let
Hell,
me
if you take
ask you a couple
statistics
questions
class,
then.
you know that shit can be done.
Let me ask you a couple
Thank you.
questions. Then.
Manipulated figures all damn day because that was part of the course.
Let me ask the panel. Let me ask the panel 2 questions. What happens in this country once every 10 years?
Census.
There's
They do a
I'm
census.
sorry, what was that
Your
question?
point?
Correct. Now, how do they determine the number of people that's increased or decreased?
They count the members in the House.
And
So
that's
if the
only as
For the people
Hold
that
on, hold
answer.
on.
It's only for the people that answer.
Correct.
exactly.
That's correct.
So if people don't
So
answer
That's
the
there
question,
you go. Your
only-
variable
you
is
only
just
get an
hold on.
answer
Wait a
manipulated
minute.
by the
I'll-
ones
I'll-
who failed to
I'll-
answer that.
I will factor in what Rebecca has said. Now, if we're looking at the numbers, the difference between the two from 2010 to 2020, we can see if there has been an increase in the number of citizens, whether counted or otherwise, or we can see if there's been a decline. More than likely, there's going to be an increase. You can tell what percentage of the increase there was, just like from 2010, from 2000 to 2010. They know the number of people that have been born. Those numbers are not arbitrary. They are solidified because every person that's born in this country has a birth certificate. They
That's
can
not
measure the
true.
percentage
that
of
is not
increase.
true.
If you're not born inside of a hospital, you don't get a birth certificate until your parents file for one.
Thank
I
you.
just want to make that clear.
Thank
People
you.
still have their
Okay.
babies at home.
How many children are born at home?
We don't
Give me
know.
percentage.
We don't know.
I don't know.
If
Go
they
look
Just
don't
a rough
participate,
percentage.
then we don't know.
Don't know.
Which is exactly
That's the
what
whole
she's
point of
saying.
it.
So if you control the variable, you get the answer you want. So nobody can make up for the unknown. So
And let me
and
respond
just
to
like
your
she said,
census.
I can take a whole group of solid men and do
We're not. I'm just.
and get the
Hold on.
statistics
Hold on. Wait a
and
minute.
come out with the answer that I want, just like anybody can.
I'm just
Here's the
talking
response
about
to your
raw
census. Here's your
numbers and
response to your
data.
Here's your
Okay, they may
response
be
to your
raw and they may
census.
be data, but that doesn't necessarily make it 100% accurate. So
It's what the government
I'll tell you
uses.
what, Herb.
it
I'll
doesn't
tell you
matter
what,
that the
Herb.
government uses it, Herb. If it's not 100% accurate, it's just not 100% accurate. They're going to use the data that they have to come up with a decision, put those statistics out for people to read, but that doesn't mean that it's accurate. Period.
And the way that things
Hold on. Wait a minute.
are
Hold
measured.
on. Hold on.
Wait a minute. Let me respond. The way that things are, the way that the government keeps statistics in and of themselves is questionable. But I'll give you a direct response to the census. So I have a child. Okay, of course, you guys know that. So if he spent 6 months at my house and 6 months at his dad's house, when they ask his dad on the census, how many people live here? He says 2. They're going to ask me how many people live here. I said 2. That's one child that's been counted twice. And it does happen because I had to have that situation corrected. It does happen. So that's yet again another example of how flawed statistics can be. That was concrete.
Some people don't even do the census.
I don't do it. I
I'm
did it
just
that
saying.
time.
I agree with her. You can't solely rely on the statistics. You just can't. There has to be something else. And if you have people telling you this isn't always the fact because I know it to be true, that should be taken into account too. And so, again, we could go all day with this argument here, but at the end of the day, it should still be the responsibility of those two parties involved, point blank and simple.
And just for a record, if you look at the current applications, the current census and things like that, when they count Caucasian people, they also count Hispanic people because they say the what's the phrase, white non-Hispanic or Hispanic non-white, something along that lines.
Yeah.
50 years or 40 years ago, there was a definitive box for Hispanic. There was one for Black. There was one for white. Okay, so if you're a white parent and you have a biracial child, you're not counting that child as biracial because guess what? It doesn't have. It doesn't have a slot for a biracial child. So either your kid is white or your kid is black. And I'm giving you that in concrete ways so that you will understand it. Hispanics are now can now be classified even on applications as Caucasians. So that's another way in which the statistics won't work for what you're trying to prove.
All this stuff to me is crap when you talk about statistics or whatever the case is. And you made a point, Scorpio T, that some Hispanics or whatever, they check off that they're white. And sometimes even in the school we have to say, oh, they marked off white, but they're not white. But that's what they do because they understand that checking off certain things, they look for certain favors. Or
Stacey Dash checked off.
It may benefit them.
Stacey Dash said she was white, Dave. And we all know when you look at Stacey Dash, she is not a Caucasian woman.
But now she wants to be black again, right?
Right, but I'm just saying that's that without someone there to physically verify that the information you have provided is correct, it can be considered incorrect. So
you can't.
That's all.
We numbers and data and stuff is good, but like you said, it can be manipulated. So if that's the sole thing that we're focusing on, then we're always going to be tricked. My thing is we need to deal with what's in front of us and not look at the masses of numbers. We have to start off with micro numbers like, okay, we got to deal with what's right in front of us. If we're looking at if we're looking at a big whole thing and trying to break that down, then shit, this is why we go have these arguments that we have it right now.
Yeah. Fix your fucking problem first before you want to venture out into
all I'm saying is with your statistics, what I'm saying is that there needs to be not just a number, it needs to be some concrete evidence. Hey, this is this person. Here's a snapshot of this person. This person has this. Then you can count it and know that it's concrete because it's verified information. It's not an anecdote, then it's verified information. Not so self-reporting some things. So if I was Ike Turner, I would self-report that I was the sweetest man in the world because I want access to certain stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not attacking the statistics. I know that they have their place. There are many people who make money based on statistics, which again goes back to my original statement. But I'm not knocking the statistics. I'm just saying that cannot be the only factor that is used when we have these conversations. That's all. Unless they're verified.
That's true.
I'm sorry, Anita, hold on. When I brought out the statistics regarding the census, it was just to demonstrate the number of people that are opting out of marriage. It's not a gender-based discussion. It's just what it is. There are people that are saying we would rather not engage in being married and we would just rather have kids. That's not a Herbert thing. That's being borne out by the number of kids that are being had to unwed mothers across the spectrum.
The census doesn't ask you a question if you decided to get pregnant and not be married. There's no question on there for that.
I never
And
said
a lot
that
of people choose to identify
you
themselves
just
as
said that
single
the census
versus divorced on the census. But let's not talk
census,
about that, I guess.
let me put it to you like this. The census asks if there's people in the household that are married. I've taken the course this year, so I know what's on the census application.
That doesn't mean
hold on, wait a minute. It doesn't ask if the person living in the home is a citizen anymore. They don't care. They just want a raw count of the number of people that are within the borders of the United States of America. Period. They want to know.
But it doesn't say that
just
you
because,
opted out of marriage.
it would ask the question if the people in the house are married. But the thing is, you could be a divorced couple still living in the same damn house. That defeats the purpose of asking that question.
Listen, the consensus don't say, are you an unwed mother? Why is it not unwed parents? Because you could be an unwed single father too. So why is it steady going straight to the woman, the unwed mother, the unwed mother? Guess what you are? You are unwed father. You know what I'm saying?
No,
That's
no
the
one
part. That's
questions
the
that.
part.
Who questions that?
Obviously, I'm making a statement about it because the
But
statement came to said on the thing it says unwed mother. This many unwed mothers. I mean, does it ask how many unwed men are? You see what I'm saying?
because overwhelmingly women are awarded custody of the child. For the
What does
benefit of the discussion, the new definition of a family is not a single man with a child. It's a single woman with child. That's the new definition of the family. That's
says
why I
who?
put
Who
that
gave
out
that?
there.
That's changing.
All you have to do is ask. All,
There's
all you
more
have to
guys
do,
getting
yourself
custody
why.
of their children.
all you have to do is go look at DDS information and what they classify as a family. Don't take my word for it. Go do the research. I've always said that. Go do your own research and let me know what you get. Nobody has ever done that. They only want to critique what I give.
Listen.
Okay.
We need a little mofo in this
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
Mofo.
Okay. Okay. 'Cause
What's up, Dave?
So we need a little
I'm
mofo in
I'm
this
gonna,
conversation.
yeah, let's move
Listen,
forward.
I think that what my issue is, and I will not deign to speak for anybody else, but my issue with the throwing in of statistics at the time that they usually come in is that you have women that are here that are a part of whatever it is that we're talking about. Whatever the issue is, I can remember, and I'm not talking about now, but the biggest example that I have, because it really made me want to like just wish that I could jump through the screen and just like chop you in the throat when you did it. That's why it's in my mind. But I was talking about the fact that my dad left and that I remember that happening. And then after we talked about that, you came with the statistic. Well, the statistics show that only such and such percentage of Black fathers leave. And so you have a woman right here that's telling you a story that she's part of the whatever the fuck the percentage is of the ones who was abandoned. And it's like you minimalize it when you start putting out your statistics. I'm just telling you that that's how I have felt when you have started throwing out the statistic thing, because as it has been said a million times, we all know that statistics can be manipulated. We all know that the government has some statistics proving that we're not even 100% human. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
once I know that
Thank
things
you.
like that exist and that people can create things like that, I tend to go with what I can see. I know people who are victims of this. I know people, I know trash ass chicks too. So when we're talking to you about what we know because of what we've seen, just like you do, talk about what it is that you know, what you've seen sometimes. When we start throwing in statistics, it seems like that's a last place to go. And so it's just a little demeaning to what it is that we're trying to share with you. That's how I felt. I don't know if anybody else
I
felt that,
second that.
but that's the issue that I've had with it because we know that it can be manipulated.
Yeah.
And so if I'm telling you something that has happened to me and you're coming at me with, a statistic that says, well, it showed that it only happened to a few. Well, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you can get that or not, but that's what the issue that I've had with the statistics.
That doesn't fucking change the fact that it happened, and it doesn't change the fact that it's still happening till this day. Everybody doesn't report that shit. Not and Rebecca made the perfect point earlier. Not every woman goes after a man for child support. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. So that alone makes that fucking statistic that you keep trying to throw out there skewed.
Thank you.
That's all we're trying to say. Stop
Thank
taking
you.
stock in all of that because there are so many
So
different
so let
variables
me ask this
that
let me
are
ask this question.
manipulated. So that number absolutely means nothing at the end of the day. It
Thank
doesn't.
you.
Let me ask this question. Does the anecdotal situation override the great majority of what is going on?
I
Because I
already
understand.
addressed that.
Hold on. Because I freely admit that everybody has their own experiences. I never discount them. If I were to
I'm
sit
sure
here,
just
hold on,
statistically do.
hold on. If I were to sit here and ask everybody's individual experience, we would never be able to get anything accomplished in terms of the discussion. This is why I go to the numbers, because it's a way to bring in everything. Now, it may not be to your liking, or it may not be something you
Not
agree
about
with.
it being to our liking.
I understand that.
Girl.
This is why I said I don't mind the pushback. I don't mind somebody was saying this is not what I experienced. I understand that. I'm not saying that anyone's experience is wrong or invalidating it. Just because I don't say I agree with your experience doesn't mean it's wrong.
You invalidate
Well,
every
hold
single
on,
time you
hold
say
on.
a
No,
woman
Let me
should
no.
give
like
her
you do
kids
other
I
to
am
people.
not
the father.
invalidating
Hold
anything.
You
on,
Like I said,
hold on.
just
people's
because
I'm
I
going to
experiences
do you
every single
like you
time,
do
and
other
you have
people.
a
Wait a
history
minute,
of
Rebecca.
doing that.
Let
You
me
have a
when I
respond
history
by
of telling
saying
people
this.
that what they say don't matter.
when
Let me
like I said,
respond by saying that. Let me respond by saying this. People have written 1,000 books. That one experience that they told have touched 1,000 different lives. People tell their experience on TV every day. We have sat on this panel and told our experience. And this is real life. This is not a number that comes out of a book. Those real life issues and experiences reach out to the masses who are going through these things to say to them, understand that this is that and that is this. So don't say that, this is why you bring statistics into it so that it can encompass everybody when it still does not. Because
I
the
said I bring in
statistics,
statistics to bring everything together.
It doesn't bring
But it
everything
doesn't bring it
together, though. We've been
together.
telling you that
It,
it's not bringing anything together
how does it not?
because the statistics aren't accurate. So that's like me saying I got 11 fingers.
It brings the discussion
No, it
together.
doesn't. It always
no, it
starts an
doesn't.
argument.
No,
So
it
it couldn't
doesn't.
No,
possibly
How?
bring
listen,
anything
no,
Wait a
together
listen.
minute.
because we keep telling you that the statistics are accurate because every single week you have at least at minimum one female on here who is not a part of that statistic, but she fits the title. A Black single mom. I'm not destroying the community. She's not destroying the community. She's not, and she's not. So the statistic cannot be accurate. I didn't take anybody for child support. Somebody else may have. Somebody may have worked with the father of their child. Somebody may not have. Somebody may have decided not to abort their child. Somebody may have. Everybody has their choice. And to only use statistics to make your point valid doesn't work in any of these arguments. And we've been telling you that all along. And every week you bring them back and try to rephrase it.
Okay, let me make this real simple.
redefine
I'm
it.
Let me
gonna
And
make
say,
every week we
I'm
give
gonna
you the
say
same
this.
damn answer.
let me make this real simple for everybody on the panel.
You don't
All you
have
have to
to
do
make
is
it simple.
all you have to well, I want everybody to get their own information and then compare and contrast. Put it out on Facebook. You all have social media. Ask the question. Don't take my word for it. Ask the
I'm,
question.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
say,
have
I'm
to
gonna
ask
say
a
No,
this.
question. I'm
those are
giving
not
you an
Wait a
questions
minute.
that
answer.
we've ever asked. Like we
Let me
never care
respond
about the
to this.
statistic that you're bringing, so we wouldn't have a need to bring it on Facebook. What we're asking you for most of the time is just a real accounting and a real sharing in the same way that we do, and we're met with your statistics. So I've just accepted that that's what the answer is, and we can go on.
And
But
let me, I'm gonna
I
say
can't.
this. Let me say this. Let me respond. This is the way I feel, and this is probably uh not gonna go well. But I mean this in the most
Here
nicest,
comes
meanest way
Brown.
possible. I mean this in the most nicest, meanest way possible. You should not bring a statistic into nothing because you have created nothing. You have no children. Therefore, you should not be a person that is bringing up a statistic to tell anybody anything about children, bringing them in, taking care of them, nothing else. Now, I mean that in the nicest, meanest way possible.
Okay, hold on. Let me cut you off right there. Let me cut you off right there. Hold on, Dr. Anwar. If that's the position that you are going to hold and the women are going to agree with you, then by default, I should have nothing to do with the community and helping to raise any children. If that's the
That has
position that you're going to hold.
absolutely nothing
Hold on, wait a
to do
minute.
with what I just said.
Because you're saying you're saying I have no standing. So if I have no
I'm
standing,
saying
then
you
I have
should
no
not
care.
be a person.
Hold
You
on.
should not be a person that's always hollering about a statistic when you don't have a statistic. That's like you telling me about having
I'm part of the
ovaries and you
52%
ain't got
of
them.
men that don't have kids.
He sure did say at the
What I'm
beginning of
saying
the
to
show,
you,
if they're not in his household,
listen,
he's not
All
obligated
right,
to
let's
be part
change
of
up
it.
the thing.
So
And
he excludes himself from the community, but now he wants to be a part of the community. What the
Anita
fuck
is a woman that sits on. Anita is
Damn
a
it.
woman that sit on this panel. Anita shows up almost every single week. Anita does not have children. That does not mean she is not pouring into children, but she definitely ain't bringing up no statistics. And even those statistics you bring up have touched her as well. She's not bringing them up because she doesn't have a dog in the fight. That's all I'm saying. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, for real. I really do. I want you to think about that. You just heard Sheree say, I told you about my situation, and you minimalized that by telling me about a statistic. This was a real life traumatic incident that this child lived through. She lived through that. You heard Brolic T say the same thing, and then you hit somebody with a statistic to minimize what they just said. This is my real life account of what happened. So if you don't got a dog in the fight, drop them stats and bring us some real life stuff.
Amen.
Go ahead, Dr. Anwar.
I've come up here to get Herb's flank, and I got the mother of all statistics. 53% of Black men are childless and not married.
Okay.
28% are married.
And your point.
That means the 70% of children born out of wedlock are
That just
born.
means 53% if you chose not to
20% of
be
the men.
responsible and
You're
marry a woman
talking
you got
over
up.
him. Allow him to speak.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, Anwar. What's the end of what's your actual point, sweetie?
I just come up to get Herb's back.
No, I'm asking you to
What we are
your
telling you
actual
guys,
point.
what we're telling,
what
what
was the
we.
end of what you just said?
She didn't hear the end, Anwar. Go ahead.
I said, and all of this, speaking of statistics, is on blackdemographics.com.
What about like everybody else that's not Black?
You got to find those someplace else.
Right. So,
Okay.
and
So
moving
let me
on,
ask you.
and moving
Let me
on,
ask
like
you this
that.
question.
You
Moving
know,
on.
like,
of Black,
what was the point?
53%
No.
Black men, not married,
Let me.
childless.
So let me ask you a question.
24% of
Does
Black
that
men
50,
are married.
Hi,
That means
mommy.
that 70% of children born out of wedlock are born to
That means
only
53%
20%
are
of
liars.
the men.
Hold on. How many
Let's call it
percentage
a
of
does
twelve.
the?
that
Let's
Hold
call
mean
it
on,
the
sweetie.
80
yeah,
Hold
20
on,
let
rule.
him
You have
Anwar.
finish.
20
Hold
Let
on,
him
rules.
finish.
Anwar.
It's
Let
called
him
80
Hold
20
finish.
on,
rule. So
Anwar.
it's called the
Hold
80
on,
20 rule.
Anwar.
20% of the men are getting 80% of the cooch.
Hold on, Anwar. So of the 50%, of the 53% of men who are unmarried with no children, how many of them are lying about making children?
Oh gosh.
before you
Oh
even go
gosh,
there,
that's her.
how
That's
many?
right. Oh
Exactly.
gosh.
How
Oh
many
gosh.
of them
That's
are
what I
Black
gay?
thought.
demographics.
That's
Everybody
what I
go to
thought. No.
blackdemographics.com.
How many
Blackdemographics.com.
of those are
Statistics for
Let me
Black
lying
ask this
people.
about the
question.
children
Statistics
that
for
they
Black
have
people.
created?
There's everything you want to know is on
How many are
blackdemographics.com.
lying
I just
about
want
being
to ask.
married?
Don't mean shit to real life. I'm a mother.
It
I'm a
means
single mother.
everything. It means
And
Because you
everything.
know
mama,
Black
why?
folks
There's a
don't
lot of
listen to
black men
statistics
out here
enough.
that are dead
What
these
important?
days.
Go to
That do you have any
blackdemographics.com, man.
children while you up here talking? You acknowledge all the
Blackdemographics.com.
children you have?
Go to blackdemographics.com.
Oh my God.
The
Those are
statistics
outdated
for Black
statistics that no
people.
longer apply. You can't talk about
Statistics
anything
for
that's
Black
15 years
people.
ago, but let it
Okay,
go.
okay.
I
Statistics
want
for
to
Black
ask
people.
this. Wait a minute. I just want to
Go
know
to
the answer to this question. I
blackdemographics.com.
want to know the answer, Dr. Anwar. I think that's your name. I can't see because I ain't got my glasses on. But here's my question. Does that statistic include the number of Black men that have been married and divorced? Or does it include the number of the men who may have lost a child, meaning they don't have a child anymore? So on and so forth. Because you can be married, and at the time they take that statistic, if you're divorced, if you're engaged, if you're in a serious relationship, no, you may not be married, but you may be going to marry, or you may be divorced, or so on and so forth. Does it include any of that?
You can go to blackdemographics.com and look it up
In
yourself.
other words, either no.
Like
I've
it
looked
don't
at
know
it
what
and
you're
it
It's all
actually
there.
doesn't.
Go
So
I've
look at
looked
the
at it and
data.
it actually
Go look at the
doesn't. It
data.
doesn't.
Go look
So
at the
y'all can
data. You
ignore
got
what he's
statistical
saying. I've
analysis,
looked
at
at it and
bar
it
charts,
actually doesn't.
pie charts, plots, everything you very smart women would want to know. Go look at the data.
She just said that she
Okay,
looked it
but the
up. Did you hear her?
53% of Black men that are unmarried, I'm trying to figure out what was the point to that statement. That's all.
It does
I'm.
not ask those questions.
Came up.
Just
Hold
answer
on.
the question
Hold on. Wait a minute.
no,
Wait
it does
one
not break it
moment.
down like that.
Please. What you guys didn't hear him say was the 39% that do have a child is either married to or cohabitating with the mother. That leaves the rest of the percentage who is impregnating the women and creating the single mother scourge. That's what you guys didn't hear him say. This is why he says, go to blackdemographics.com. We freely acknowledge that there are men out here who are behaving in a sexually indiscriminate way. We
No, in a
freely acknowledge
trashy
that
way.
because we know it
You don't
exists.
freely acknowledge that. You
Why don't we?
acknowledge
We
that.
don't freely
Because you
I don't know
acknowledge
why
that
you
black
don't, but this is the
demographics is
first time I've
wrong.
ever even heard you say anything close to that.
Thank you.
I've mentioned that statistic at least 3 or 4 times.
You've mentioned
At
what
No, you
you
least.
didn't. But
mentioned. You haven't mentioned that you know that there's some
no.
trash ass men out here that are
Go
behaving
go
badly.
back
That's
and
what I'm
listen to
talking
the
about.
go back and listen to the multiple shows that we've done.
No, you
Oh
go
my
David,
back
God,
and listen
let's
have
to
I
the
not,
mentioned
multiple
that
because
before,
shows that
Herb
David?
we've
doesn't
done
know what it
because
means to honor a bet, so let's not go there.
David, have I mentioned that before?
Oh, yeah, we talk about this stuff on a regular basis
Thank
all
you.
day long. Yeah.
Not
What I
on
tell
here.
you about saving his ass?
About what?
He doesn't have to save me. All y'all have to do is go back and
What I tell you about putting on that
the
damn tape? I'm
shows.
gonna strangle your ass
I
with
don't
it.
need to be saved. I know what I say.
No,
no, you don't
seriously.
need to be
We had
saved.
these
If you
conversations.
know,
We had these
no, that's
conversations.
not the
Yeah.
question. What I said very specifically, I did not dispute
What
that we
happened?
have these conversations. I disputed the fact that that is the first time that I have heard you personally say that you acknowledge that there's some trash ass men out here that are
Thank you.
behaving
Yeah, first
badly.
time you've
That's
ever
what
admitted
I
that
said.
shit.
So let's be very
Well, let me tell
specific
you how
about
Herb
what
usually
I
say it.
said.
Herb usually talk about the screening process about choosing no good men.
Herb don't even give us his screening process because last week he told us that he would rather not do that because none of us would understand because he understands that he's extreme
No,
and that he's
he
different.
said
Okay,
before
so listen, y'all
the issue
talk in
is
circles,
he
but
usually
it's
say the
okay because
issue
I
is
can
the
hear in
man that you
circles. That's all
choose.
right.
He said that before. He says that continuously. Trust and
What
believe.
does that have to do with what I just said? That is not saying that we acknowledge that it's some trash ass men out here. I was very specific in what I said. I ain't talking about no roundabout way. You just said, well, how he says it. I was very specific. First
Okay, he
time
didn't
I've heard
say
you
it like
say
how
that.
you say it. He didn't say it
No,
like
he
he
didn't
said.
say it like how
Yeah.
he just said it here. I was very specific. We've asked you on several occasions. You've claimed that you can't give an answer on a subject that you don't have any knowledge on, but you do, and you're along with your statistics. So that's what what Scorpio was talking about. But what I was specifically talking about was any type of acknowledgement from you that some other men do some crazy ass shit, because usually, and we've told you several times that we feel this way, so the fact that we still even got to say it just means that you're not really listening to us when we talk. And I mean, that's cool too, you know. That's cool too. Yes, my baby.
Okay.
So regardless of who's going to stick around to take care of the kids, regardless of what the gender roles is, I'm staying with my daughter and her husband right now. It ain't no gender roles. Like Rebecca said, things get done the way that things have to get done. Okay, he's doing the residency at the VA right now. My daughter works full time from home. They have 3 children. That's why I'm here as the buffer. But we built that community. We built that village. That's exactly what I'm for. But even were I not here, they'd have that undertow. There's no specific who's going to take out the garbage. You, whoever the fuck sees the garbage is overflowing, grab a bag. Like it's not. There's not a specific way that this thing has to be done. You need to figure out what works for your household. And if you
Yeah.
want to pick up a book or whatever, every time there's a decision that needs to be made around the house because you need to know if it's gender specific, then you're gonna have a fucked up ass kid. You're gonna have a fucked up ass household. Your cats are gonna be fucked up. Your dog is gonna be is gonna be meowing. Like everything's gonna be confused. Just everybody do what they need to do. So
To run
there's a
your house.
common goal. Everybody in the house is supposed to be on the same team. But every time you want to make it into a competition between the very people that are in the house, how is that healthy for anybody involved? If
No,
Just
let me tell
because
you,
you have
if there's a
opinions.
competition to be had, it's between these adults and the children, because these motherfuckers will have you on the ropes. And if they see you can't get it together between the two of you, in a minute, the inmates are gonna be running the asylum. And y'all gonna be doing the chores, and the kids gonna be sitting back playing Nintendo and shit. Like, you need to get, like, really, that's the role. The role in the house is parent child, not female male, and what you should be doing. You need to establish that, because other than that, our children are lost. All of these jacked up adults you're running into is because they had parents that were stuck on this kind of dumb shit. They
Girl, let
started
the
off
church
as
say
kids.
amen.
They started off as kids that was fucked up as products of two adults that couldn't get their shit together, that was too worried about who was going to win the argument, who was going to
Well,
win the fight.
I'm gonna drop down, but I think the rest of society feels the way you feel, because we're not gonna have genders in a little while anyway. We're gonna be intersectional.
We already that they've passed the Freedom
Rainbow.
Act where anybody can go into any bathroom depending on how it is that they feel.
Yeah,
So
and all
if
your
you
kids
feeling
can
like
take,
a woman, yeah, like
all
that's
your kids can take
ridiculous to me.
hormones and change into whatever sex they want. So we're already past the point of no return. Anyway.
It's pretty much going that way. It's pretty much going that way for real.
Hey, you live the life that
You
you
need to
choose.
drop your ass
If
out
you're
the
not
conversation.
causing any harm to me, then you should be able to choose to live the life that you want, because that's in my house, and what goes on in my house is not affecting what's going on in your house.
That's
But see,
right.
the problem that we're facing is that everybody's rights now need to supersede everyone else's. I
Girl.
need to be acknowledged and I need to be seen. So it doesn't matter if you're not ready to handle that or whatever your religious beliefs are. Because I feel like a man today, I should be able to go into the man's bathroom. And it doesn't matter if it makes the men in there feel uncomfortable, if it puts them in a position, it puts them in a very dangerous position. Okay, no one cares that because a man is feeling like a woman today, oh, I can just go ahead and walk into the bathroom. You don't. So my right to privacy is no longer important. My children's right to feel safe in the bathroom is no longer important, because where were you pissing before? This is my question. Where were you taking a dump before? I don't understand.
Yeah,
why it is that a law has to get passed about where you go to the bathroom, but stuff like this is so dangerous.
Like, now that you say that, listen, now that you say that, it made me think the other day. I came out the bathroom and lined up was a woman waiting by the door and went right into our bathroom, the male's bathroom, instead of going to the women's bathroom. Then when you ask them about it, they said because the men's bathroom is much cleaner. But if a man was waiting to go in the woman's bathroom, I don't know if it would get the
First
same.
of all, he'd be waiting a long ass time because there's always a line at the women's bathroom, and it's typically not a long line at the men's bathroom.
No, I'm talking about at the school thing. They only got a certain amount of time that they can come use the bathroom. This teacher went directly. She was waiting by the door when I came out, and I'm like, "What the hell?" Went straight in there. I can't be waiting out the women's bathroom. I couldn't, or something would be wrong with me.
Well, you lucky. You got separate bathrooms.
Not now. All you got to do is say that you're feeling like a woman today, and nobody's supposed to say anything, and they're not supposed to feel any kind of way about it because they passed the law.
I mean, my son's been in a wheelchair pretty much all his life, and I can't tell you how many times I rolled my ass up into the men's bathroom so that he could go to the bathroom. It was what it was.
You had your son. You had your kid.
You
had your kid. You didn't stroll in there with some. You didn't
and
stroll in there with some suspenders and your damn dockers on, talking about I feel like a man today. Because when another man that's not so nice pushes you up against a wall to see just how manly you're feeling, that's when that backlash is going to come.
They
and then
can
all of a sudden they're
rectify
going
this
to want
if they
us
just
back
make
into that
one-stall
situation.
bathrooms, and then
They have that. They don't want that. That wasn't good enough. They don't want unisex bathrooms. They want to go where they want to go.
Yeah.
You know, like, but it's a woman that thinks that she's married to the Eiffel Tower too. So like, who cares? Like right now, like who the fuck cares? Everybody is just doing what it is that they want to do. So, listen, once the first white man turned into a white lady and got called Woman of the Year, I was done with this country. Like, quite honestly.
I said the same thing. I need to quit right away.
Gender roles, schmender roles. Like, white men feel so entitled that they want to be white women now. Like, come on, dude. Like, just, okay. Like, oh, cool. Cool.
Like I said all the time, we're screwed. We're screwed.
wanting to turn back into a woman.
Yes,
He wants to go.
because
He
he's
wants to go
changed
back
his
to being a
mind.
man.
Because he's changed his mind. Because for some reason they think that they're gonna turn into a woman and shit's gonna get better for him. Like, have they not been in this country? Besides
Exactly.
slaves, the worst
That
thing to be
didn't
in this
that didn't
motherfucker
make
is a
his life
woman.
any
But you want to
easier
turn
or
into a
better.
woman and scream about equality. Get the fuck out of here.
I think he
That
really found out.
please.
I think he really found out that being a woman ain't what he thought it was,
He
and
found
now
out
he
how
wants to
quickly
go
they can
back.
turn on them. How quickly they can turn on them. They how quickly we can be turned on. Yeah.
Listen,
I don't know. She's not in the chat.
no, Anita, she bailed. She's in the chat area now.
Oh,
Listen, for me, the way I look at it, I could say the way things were set up, men went out, they made, and back in the days they made more money, but now we know that it's kind of maybe balancing out. But I still think, in the end of the day, the household, a lot of things fall on women. And I'm just being real. Maybe because I was raised by predominantly women, but I know the emotional state of the household,
Yes.
usually women
Everything. Yes.
handle that. The domestic, the
That's why we
cleaning, and all that
tired.
stuff. So that's why I say I can't subscribe to all this stuff back in the days. I know what's happening now. And I only can go as far as my grandparents and what I seen. They both worked. My grandfather worked a little more. And then when I think of my mother and father, they both worked. Then after a while, my father went to the store to get a loaf of bread, never came back. And things like that happen. But I know women held a major role as far as everything that they did in the household, especially.
Because stuff still had to be done. Whether your
Yeah.
dad showed back up or not, things still had to get done. And they did not have time to sit around and cry about it, except for at night after all the kids done went to sleep, after they done been suited and booted. And so that's another thing that's insulting when we hear the minimalizations that we are feeling coming from all these statistics. Because again, you're talking to a panel of single mothers that have gone through the exact same thing that your mother went through when she found herself in that situation. She didn't do anything. The dude went to the store. Like I can't imagine
I was being
somebody
facetious
telling me
with
I'm
that.
going to whatever it is. But you know, listen, it happens. Baby, I ain't never coming back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of shit happens.
Right.
And some woman is just left there to pick up the pieces however she can with whatever she has. So that's what makes it so insulting when somebody decides to berate and talk about the motherfucker that stayed and that went through the fire and all of that stuff. It's real easy to glorify a motherfucker who ain't never made a mistake. He never made a mistake because he was never around.
Right.
Exactly.
It's easy to be perfect
Right.
when somebody's idolizing you. I know, because I did it. Even though I saw the mofo throw the shit into the bushes for me, I'm not being facetious when I say that shit happened. He threw it, you know what I'm saying? Later on, I still, because I was in the situation I was in with my mother, I still tried to idealize him. But at the time, I still have to remember that's what it was. It was me idealizing him because he wasn't shit. I don't believe that my life would have been any better had he been in it,
Thank
because of the fact that
you.
he wasn't shit.
I
Okay,
I
learned
just
and
want to
something
go
that's something
very
that's
well
hardly
without
ever
you.
spoken about. Like I said, it's very, very easy to idealize the one who doesn't stay because you get to pick apart the one that did, the one that's made the
at
mistakes.
this
They
and at
cared
this
enough to
point.
stay there to make those mistakes. So that's why it's
At this
insulting.
point,
That's why we get so incensed when it happens. That's
Yeah,
why.
stop putting us all under the same damn
and
umbrella because y'all
I
need to be
think
on a
that the social
headhunting
contract.
mission for all these raggedy women that y'all talk about. Go find them. Bring them on a panel.
I
Let them
think
defend themselves.
right. The social contract now has become between individuals. There was no collateral social contract anymore. So to even have the discussion about it is kind of outdated in and of itself, just by default, because people have had to take on roles as Mofo and Rebecca just said, they have had to take on roles that they didn't sign up for. So the social contract went out the window decades and decades and decades ago. It is now a social contract between two people. Brolic T is married. Whatever her social contract is between her and her husband, that's their social contract, as it is with mine, as it is with anybody that you're dealing with. At this point, this is what I expect. Anything that is unwritten is equivalent. Unwritten rules is kind of like unexpressed expectations,
unspoken
right?
expectations.
Unexpressed expectations.
Which is a
So
bunch of
people
bullshit.
can't live up. People can't live up or maintain anything that is unspoken or unexpressed. So that social contract thing at this point, it does not apply. Not only because of what you said about the genders going away, the gender roles, and just by default. By default, those things have gone out the window. You have men that are serving as playing roles in lives that they wasn't intended to be. You have women playing roles in life that they wasn't intended to be. That stuff is out the window, especially when you have kids. The point is, get it done. I don't care what it is. We was talking on one of these, and Rebecca was fixing the wash machine. That would break the social contract, but it had to get done, so she didn't. So the social contract, the idea of the social contract should have been obliterated a long time ago.
I agree with that. And to say that we're not a part of the community simply because there isn't a man in the home and that we are the cause of the breakdown of the Black community is utterly ridiculous, because whatever the cause of the breakdown, it falls on all of us, not just the Black single parent. It falls on all of us. And so I think that's where you find all of these upset women on the panel, because you keep wanting to lump us all in the same group, and we continuously tell you looking at 5 people who aren't that way. And I don't know. I know I'm just getting real tired of this bullshit. It's just getting old and played out. It really is. When are we just going to stop finger pointing at anybody and just do something about the damn community? And I don't think making everybody get married is the solution, because marriage does not guarantee anything except that you're going to get a benefit when the other one dies if you stay married. That's the only benefit.
Most
That's the
marriages
only
are
guarantee.
businesses. They're businesses.
I'm just saying. My parents were married. They didn't stay together. It didn't guarantee shit, but they were married. Plenty of people. It don't guarantee that your kid is going to be all that in a bag of chips. Plenty of married people have raised sociopaths. Marriage doesn't guarantee anything except your damn death benefit. That's it. That's it.
And even in some cases, it doesn't guarantee that.
Girl,
I just read an article about a man who left all of his wealth to his housekeeper and left his wife and children nothing. So that doesn't guarantee.
Because a will supersede all that shit.
Nothing. Good people. That's all I'm interested in, is good people raising good people and sending their ass out into the world to do something good. That's really and truly the only thing that I care about. If me and my mother together raise my kids and we send good people out in the world, damn it, kudos to us. If 2 gay men over there raise their child over there and to a good person and sent them out into the world to do good fucking for them. Take care of your motherfucking house before you come back and try to tell the rest of us that we're doing wrong and taking care of ours.
That doesn't go without saying that people don't make mistakes. People do make mistakes. They absolutely make mistakes. They absolutely make mistakes. And sometimes you don't see the results of those mistakes until many moons later. All I'm saying is exactly what you said. At some point, there has to be a solution. We talked about the social contract. What's the solution? If people are not happy with what it once was, they're not happy with what it is now, I can only imagine they're not going to be happy with what it is in the future. So what's the solution? Other than educating people and trying to make them wise about their life choices.
That's the only solution, ma'am.
The problem is
is to be educated and to handle your business correctly inside of your home. So when you step out of your house, that you're doing the right thing. If you and all your neighbors subscribe to that shit, your community will just be fine within that community. When you step out of that community, you have to hope that the community around the corner is subscribing to the same thing, doing the same thing, and that as you step farther away from your community, that everybody is just trying to do the best that they can. We all know that's a fucking fantasy. That's never gonna happen. So to handle your shit in your house with what you have. I'm not going out to find no man because somebody believes that's the way I should live my life. You can suck a dick all damn day long, a white one if you prefer. I don't give a shit. Girly girl. Because I'm just thinking, I'm a damn 10 over here. Actually, I'm a 9.8 if we want to be specific. Raising her damn kids by herself, doing just motherfucking fine. And you can kiss several asses if you don't like it or you don't subscribe to it. You ain't got to come this way. Put your damn face on a milk carton so that we know who the fuck you are, so that you can stay out of our way and we can stay out of yours. Go find yourself a traditional woman if that's what you like, and if she's willing to be that woman, good for y'all. Go take care of your house and stop throwing this shit out here about how we're messing it up for you when you ain't about shit to begin with. Don't nobody want you. That's
with
what the real problem is.
Said, we gonna get ready to have our closing points because that was enough. Woo-wee.
Was it? Because I got some more.
I know you do. I know you do. I know you do.
My girl.
Don't hurt nobody. Don't hurt nobody.
Ain't nothing hurt but a lick. Ain't nothing hurt but a lick, huh? You stay the fuck over here, and I stay the fuck over there, right?
Skippy. Yeah, 1319 is doing real good over here. We thriving over here. We making moves over here without a man. If there was one here, he'd have to fall the fucking line and do like the rest of us or get to stepping. So, you know, it is what it is. But you gonna stop scooping me up in that random ass statistic about what black single women ain't doing because your ass is over there lonely and can't get your shit together. Yeah, fuck you 2, 3, a million times. Because
All right. Rare. Those was closing comments in itself. I could just click the end of the discussion right there with that.
Skippy.
No, wait a minute. How you figure that's the end? That's the end of that. See, I love when people talk about stuff that they really don't have an inkling about me being lonely. You have no
Ain't
clue.
nobody talking about
you really don't. I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out there in the ether.
I don't recall her saying his name. So this is a hit dog house situation.
If it applied to
They're
you,
from a cultural aspect. Pure and simple. You already know how I close out there. Growth and understanding occurs in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
Throwing a black single woman, which I am, into a statistic, and as soon as somebody
sound personal, just like you had no problem talking about me being a member of the KKK. So
you want to talk about being lonely when
eat it all day.
So shut the fuck up.
All right, Herb's out.
You didn't say anything
Once
about
again,
Herbs. You didn't say that.
All right, Rebecca, you ready to give your closing words?
Yeah, hell yeah, I am. Growth occurs in the gray area, so your ass must be brain dead because I ain't seen no growth. Don't shit hurt but a lick, and your ass look like you've been smacked by a frying pan. Handle your shit over there because you still ain't doing shit, and everything is good over here. Check yourself before you check anybody else, because again, you still ain't doing shit, so you shouldn't be checking a motherfucking thing except your paycheck. Did I forget anybody saying?
David, know your personnel. I'm just
know
saying.
your motherfucking personnel before you get to talking
Scorpio
that
T.
Yeah,
Be
know who the
honest
fuck
with
you
yourself.
dealing with. Know who you
Should I know
dealing
himself be
with
true?
before you decide to come out your mouth and slam somebody. Know exactly who the fuck you dealing with. Because we know now.
To not own self be true.
Yeah, be true to yourself, nigga, and stop trying to run everybody else shit.
All right.
Anything
All
else? Did I forget anybody's
right.
anything?
You covered it all.
Okay then.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you.
To Herb, here's a message to Herb. Don't be jealous because women got life and death between our legs. And that's something you guys cannot say. A man will kill another man over a piece of pussy. A man will commit suicide over a piece of pussy.
Mama T.
Mama T.
Mama T.
That's
Stop
the end
it.
of the show.
Stop
That's the end of the show.
Mama T.
That's the end.
And eat the dog. Look, and eat the dog.
Yeah, eat that dog.
No,
Eat that dog.
he eating cat. He's
Hey, Mama T, you almost broke StreamYard. You started talking, StreamYard jumped off. Broke StreamYard.
Oh, God.
I'm just shocked. The language.
Man, I tell you. I said I can't get no smoke from my job. I can definitely get it here. God damn. Woo wee, Mama T.
Wow.
Give me five.
All right.
Oh, man.
Mofo.
What? You want me to go after Mama T?
Yeah, you gotta go after that.
Oh my goodness. Well, Beck hit all of them except for, fair exchange is no robbery. So we really got to make sure that we stop being thieves up in this motherfucker. Because that's really the problem. Nobody wants fair exchange. They don't want to give as much as they're taking. Okay. I said it before that, everybody, there are consequences for every decision that you make. And a lot of what we've heard tonight and a lot of what we hear a lot of times is mofos complaining about the consequences. If you just make the right decision in the beginning and have these discussions before you decide to do some of those things, then you'd eliminate all of these, consequences that you're complaining about. It's real simple. Preventative maintenance is the cure for the disease. That's it. And that's with anything. Preventative maintenance is the cure for the disease. So, that's where I'm at.
All right.
I'm just over it. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm
No,
apologizing.
please don't apologize because that was
Don't
the best
apologize.
internal laugh that I have
I'm
had.
One thing that I can always
Listen,
say,
You do not have to
you got
apologize.
Mama T to come out the thing. I've been waiting on her to come and she did not disappoint. Thank you, Mama T, because I knew it was going to be
Welcome.
something just like that. And my God, whew,
Because
eating cat.
he's talking about something he don't know. I'm a single mother of children. First one didn't know how to act. Yeah, he left. Second one didn't know how to act. I kicked that motherfucker out. So I got both statistics for his ass. A woman putting the man out and one leaving. He needs to talk about what he know. He has no children.
Don't have no stake in it. And that whole he's not a part of community shit, then stop fucking volunteering to mentor other people's kids if that's what you really do. You don't want to be a part of community and tribute? Stay in your damn house with your cats and live your life.
Leave that man.
Just
I
that
really don't care.
simple.
I don't
Don't sit up here and talk about
Then
being
leave
part
that
of
man
community
cats
and
alone.
all this stuff, and then holler you don't want to be responsible for anybody that's not a part of your household and all that other stuff. Pick a battle, dude. Pick a battle.
Just
Just
stop
that simple.
slamming.
Pick a
Just
battle.
stop slamming the rest of us, and then try to come back and say, "Oh, I'm not this. I'm not that." Okay, well, live your best life
I
over
mean,
there.
if you don't want hollering that you don't care about people's perception of you, then that shit shouldn't really matter. But he always trying to backpedal and clean it up and say I'm not this or that. Pick a fight, sir. Just that simple. Either you gonna be the big bad fucking wolf, or you gonna be a kind and gentle person. Pick one. Which one you gonna be?
all right.
I'm
So,
tired of this bipolar shit that got going on.
Brother T, is that your closing words?
There's a meeting in the ladies' room. Be back real soon.
Scorpio T.
Y'all know I'm gonna always say to thine own self be true.
Hey there, lady.
And that goes a long way. There are too many bitter men out here who mad at their mama for a decision they daddy made. Be true about it. Keep it real with yourself. If you want to lie to the world, that's absolutely fine. Just don't lie to yourself. To thine own self be true.
First of all,
You
you
know,
late.
there's
Okay.
a whole lot in life that can be accounted for. But what you
Go up
can't
the steps.
account for is a lie that you tell to yourself, and then you want to make everybody else believe it. We already know it ain't true. You know what I'm saying? So stop trying to shove that down everybody's throat. If you're angry about some stuff, deal with it. That goes to being true with yourself. I can say a whole lot of things, and I can throw shade in 10,000 ways, and I can address a whole lot. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. So be true to yourself. And when you talking to real life people, don't be scared to use real life examples. Don't be scared to tell a story. Mofo wrote a book. She told a story in that book, I'm sure. And that story is going to help somebody else. And that had nothing to do with a statistic. It had nothing to do with none of that. She said what she said, and she meant what she said. And that's just what it is. Rebecca finally got around to saying what it is that she wanted to say. And I like that because that's being true to herself. Mama T, true to herself. She said, I know both sides of this. It ain't something, and you older than the rest of us, so you got a lot more experience and a lot more interactions than we have just by virtue of being older. You know what I'm saying? And you was true to what you said. So to thine own self be true. I stand by what I said, and I don't feel bad about saying anything that I've said. If you ain't got a dog in the fight, then don't concern yourself with the battle because you will get burnt up in the process. To thine own self be true. Dave spoke his truth. He said, hey, listen, I was raised by single women. I can't say I subscribe to everything. Some things I agree with, some things I really don't. To thine own self be true. That's all I'm saying. To thine, don't lie to yourself about a thing. Because the moment you lie to yourself about a thing is the moment you got a problem. It ain't society, it's you that have a problem.
What you looking
And
for?
you
You looking
throwing
for a
all that
stick
and
to grip?
projecting it
I
out
think
there
she
into
might have like
society,
a dress
creating
up.
another generation of people that got problems. That's all I'm saying. To thine own self be true. That's it. That's all. Nothing in the middle.
All right. My closing words is, man, what can I say after all of that
Good night.
that was said?
Good night.
Yeah, I could say good night. I could say good night. And I'm one to believe we can put out statistics, we can talk the talk, but deep inside, I know that each of us individually have our own issues inside of a household, and that's what we have to address. I can't worry about if the stats say we're talking about 200,000 people. I can't worry about the rest of those people. I got to worry about what I'm dealing with and the closest people that I'm connected with. And that would be my mission, for us to be better. And if we could be better people, then hopefully it's spread along the way. And that's what I think about community, is building good, solid households, stepping out into your neighborhood and saying, hey, like, they pretty solid over here. This ain't, we're not going to be able to do that, even though we have people that infiltrate in your neighborhoods and they come with that. But sooner or later, when everybody's connected, like in a household, even sometimes in a household, you may have certain kids that may not fall in line. But when the strength is always going to be in the numbers. And if you have most people doing certain things, just like in the neighborhood, sooner or later, those kids that came in and said, oh, we're going to be disrupted, they'll fall in line eventually. They'll fall in line. But also on another end of that, sometimes all it takes is like a small percentage of people to destroy what's been good. So I always say there's no cookie cutter approach to any of this. We just got to focus on our own individual stuff and keep going. I'm never going to be one, even though I got my bachelor's in social science and all that stuff. And that was that. I did what I had to do to get it. I'm not going to believe wholeheartedly in any of these number things because I know they could be manipulated, could be tricked, and could be worked toward the advantages they want to. In education, they do it. If they want more grant money, then they make sure that they make it work so that they could get it. Healthcare, they probably do it. In every aspect, they probably do it.
And that was our only point. And he
Yeah.
act like he didn't understand what we were saying, and we say it every time. That's not saying you can't count that because they can be manipulated for that very reason. Once it comes into play, it kind of starts to invalidate what he's talking about
Yeah.
for me.
But at the end of the
And
day, nobody.
if you actually look up the history of how statistics came to be, you might be surprised at what you learn, how they came to be.
Because there was a very specific purpose to why they brought statistics into play.
Exactly.
And
I
for
learned
me,
all about the history of that shit. He needs to go educate himself before he starts spouting shit out the mouth.
I just
It's not.
wish
It's
the
not.
conversation would be different. I wish he would share his personal experience. Maybe it would make the panel understand why he believes the way he does and why he relies so heavily on statistics versus his own personal experience. He said once before he's like one of 11, 12.
That would force him to face things
You
that
would think
he's
that
not
he would just
comfortable with.
Yeah, but we've all said things that we weren't comfortable with. Every single
Yeah.
person on here has said something that they
Everybody
weren't
don't have that
comfortable
kind of
with,
strength.
proud of, something. So it's not going to
I wanna
kill him.
know.
He's still going to
Listen,
wake
Rebecca,
up tomorrow.
I don't
Everybody
want to
don't
know
have that
ladies,
kind of
ladies,
strength.
I know
I'm
y'all.
not
I know
being
y'all.
mean
But
when I
I
say
know.
that. I
Yeah.
don't want to know anybody's experience who don't want to share it. I don't want to know it. If you don't want to share it, I don't want to know it.
Well,
It's
true
just that
that.
simple.
Because I don't want to re-traumatize nobody. That's
I
the
No,
know
one.
y'all.
That's the one
wasn't
thing
an
they
intention
teach
of
you in
saying
Exactly.
that.
education.
Listen, I know y'all about to have y'all secret ladies meeting in the ladies' room.
It
We
ain't a
on the
secret.
slide. We gonna slide out here. The one thing I can say for our statistics, no matter what, I'm gonna believe what I want to believe, and I don't give a damn what the percentages is. It could be
Exactly.
99.9, and then I'm just that 0.1%. If I believe in that wholeheartedly, that's what I'm going with. And if it's somebody
Absolutely.
else believing that and I believe in them, then it's 0.2 against that 99.9. And that's just how I roll. That's just how I'm gonna live. And with that said, we getting the hell out of here because you already know I got two. Let me stop saying that shit. 'Cause again, I
Mama's
work
T
with
last note.
zombies, huh?
If you got a Mama's T last note, if you got a daddy issue, get yourself a daddy tissue. Peace out.
And we out on that note with Mama T saying that. Get you some what? Daddy tissue?
Get some daddy tissue for your daddy issues.
Whatever that is, we out. Get you some daddy tissue. Goodbye. See y'all hopefully on Thursday or whatever the case is. All right, ladies. Appreciate y'all. We out. Good night.